17th, and it's step 23 Gemini. We've been having some technical issues, but come on in. This is we've got this figured out. Today's gonna be a powerful day. Today's the day you're gonna be in your head, both sides in your head, working things out. It's gonna be a crazy day. And we move into Grandmaster Libra today at 10:30, 10:35. It's gonna be powerful. So put down in the comments where you're from. And also give me a bunch of likes down here, and do me a favor, can you press that button down there, send it to yourself, send it to a friend. Hey, Chris Pateki.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Good.
I'm gonna say hi to my love.
Hi, Cynthia. So good to see you, dear. I went through another expel Sunday night, so pardon my voice.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's all good. That's all good. So did you get any pictures? Like, was there lots of vomit?
It's all over the bathroom. It's a crime scene.
Yeah, that's the thing about me. It's like anytime I have like a biological accident, I'm like, okay, get the camera. Click, click.
That's part of being on Human Garage, huh? That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes, everything's filmed.
Yeah,
Camera
it's
follows you in
like
the
what is that?
hospitals. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it was tough. It was Sunday night. It was, I think, post-eclipse, release, unexpected, 4 a.m., witching hour, just like my body was like, we're done. So, and my voice took a hit, so I apologize. But
Yeah, so
I was
4
hoping
It sounds really good on you, Chris.
does it?
That rough, sexy.
That raspy.
voice,
I need
yeah.
a cigar, like, honey, you don't know what it's at.
So at 4 a.m., that's your lungs. That's the positive side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so basically, and that affects all the tissue in the body right next to the skin, like all the fascial tissue. So that means that it was grief that you were letting go of.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know the astrology is that we're letting go of karmic stuff, but this last degree, 0 and 1 of Saturn, those are really sensitive to me because it's on my Mars.
Right.
So when it's on like a Mars, this is good for your viewers, because if you know astrology and you have something going on with your Mars, Mars is your resistance. Resistance is inflammation. And usually something happens to Mars, it sort of snaps or kind of karate chops where you've been resisting and forces you sort of up or to rubber band back. And I think that's what was happening with me, because I'm a huge resistor. I just hold on, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm the same thing, man. It's like I'm like, are we done yet?
Yeah, I make it twice as hard, from my strength.
I
But
think I'm 24 degree Libra in my Mars.
oh,
I am.
really?
Yeah.
That's a peacemaker. That's a peacemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes making peace is creating shit. Like
I was just gonna say,
sometimes,
but pot stirring is the way.
yeah, because people think peace is peace, love, and light, but the greatest peacemakers in the world were warriors, actually.
Yeah, you have to be willing to fight if you want to have peace. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that means the sun is going on your Mars tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah. So brace yourself. Clean the
You mean
bathroom.
tomorrow or at 10:30 today?
No, I think it's. Oh no, it's Wednesday tomorrow. It'll conjoin the 24 degree. Well, it will go to 24. But technically, it crosses the south node. Is really what my memory is. Wednesday tomorrow.
Okay.
So it might be a 24-hour transit that you'll feel.
So here's a funny one. So I'm a 29 degree, as you know. So Mars is going to cross my south node tomorrow, which we have this really interesting boutique event with all these major heads of corporations that we're doing tomorrow.
Oh,
Coincidence? Cool. I think not. And then on Saturday, we go from 28 to 29 degrees in Libra. And we're doing our event at 29 Palms.
Oh, that's interesting. That's funny. Yeah.
I mean,
only for you,
I was looking at it and I'm like, no, you can't make this stuff up.
You have an annual conference of all your 29ers at 29 Palms on the 29th day of a month. I think you should see what happens. Put some cameras up. I want to see.
Yeah, I kind of feel, because I kind of feel like when you get all the 29ers together, and I'm not sure if it's all of them, if it's all 12 archetypes, or if it's just the Sagittarius is like me, or Sagittarius. I'm not sure, but I got this feeling that when we move together and breathe together in the same place, I got this feeling that something's going to happen. I mean, like something's going to open up, maybe a hole in the space-time continuum, or maybe something blows up. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm super excited about getting a chance to do it.
Get it on camera.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I mean, 29 to me is the ones who have the key to open the door to the
Yeah.
matrix. So they're the ones that push the envelope of the matrix. They push the boundaries. So I would imagine, that's an interesting conscious experiment as far as uniting consciousness, like in a tribal or ceremonial way. That's very shamanistic. Let's put it that way. It's like a shamanistic vibration. So I would imagine you'd be able to do some interesting stuff.
We teach people this, like Lisa, for example, is 25-degree Taurus.
Oh, okay.
And so the Wade Lightheart from BioOptimizers is a 25-degree Taurus, and their charts are almost identical, like line for line, aspect by aspect. And, I've been looking for all these. I found all these twins of mine. There's one on here. Her name's Neelam. She's a 28-degree Sag, but everything is the same after that. I mean, the same aspect, the same aptitude, everything, same number.
And do you compare notes?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of this master's group that I have. It wasn't to shun anybody out for all of you guys who are trying to be in the group and sending me your charts. It was because I wanted to look and say, well, what happens? First of all, I believe that the degree, my current experience is that the degree has more relationship than the sign. Like the degree is more, tells me about who you are. Mm-hmm. So if I want to learn about myself, I would take a bunch of Sagittarius at 29 and I go, oh, that is exactly me. Or if I want to learn and get reflections for myself, I take Pisces, I take Gemini, I take Libra at 29 degree, which I've done. And I watch how they deal with the energy, circumstances, situations. And I've been encouraging people, like if you're like Cynthia's a 14 degree, but she's a 14 degree Pisces, in her Chiron too. So she's scared of herself, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But taking and saying, go find your sign, go find everybody else with that degree, put them in a room and start talking to them. Like, see what happens.
Yeah, of all signs too, which is interesting too. Yeah, my belief is that, that degree, the step number is like the very last 6, feet of consciousness, how it comes into form. And I believe that everything before that is a foundation to that form. So it's literally what's above the water in an iceberg, the step number.
Right.
And then the sign and the house are like underneath the water. We're coming from that place, but we don't see it always.
The numbers had to come first.
What do you mean? In life or when God created Earth?
Well, in our creation, numbers came first.
Yes.
Because I mean, even if we're going to do something, it's like, I don't talk to you until I need to. If we're going to go eat, I'm like, hungry? Yeah. If we know what we're going to eat, then we don't talk. But if we don't know what we're eating, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 20, I now need to use something else other than that, which is now where words came in. So I say that numbers came first. Numbers have to be more important.
I agree. I always say that if aliens landed on the planet again, the one universal language would be, like the number 2, like probably squirrels also know, 1 from 2, right? Like birds know 1 from 2. Like it's something that's universal in consciousness. And to me, it's where God starts, is with the numbers. And then everything to me builds from that number consciousness. And there's like a psychology of a number, like 0 is very lonely. 1 is very lonely. 2 is company. 3 is a crowd. There's psychological effects of different numbers.
I like that. 4 is a community. 5, you got to think about it. Community is too big. Right. 6, you're just trying to balance off. You got 3 and 3. Right. 7, whoa, my gosh, I sense something's coming at me. And then you got 8. Now you got 3 and 3. You got 4, 4. Now you got to make some decisions about what you're doing. So you got 9. Okay, I got to take action. You got 10. I'm back to that 5 and 5. And then you got 11. 2 1s come together.
Yeah, you bring up a real interesting thing. So the mathematics of consciousness. So for instance, 10. 10 is I manifest. What are all the ways to make a 10? You can have you can act on love in your heart, 9 and 1. You could have 2 great ideas, 5 and 5. You could open up to innovation, 6 and 4. You can believe in your intuition, 3 and 7. These are all the ways you can manifest. They all.
Do you notice that you're having a lightning storm and fireworks?
Is that automated? I don't even know.
I've never seen that before. How did that happen?
I didn't
trigger
it.
Have you seen that?
I did.
You see it. He's got balloons and fireworks and. I've
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never seen that before.
That's like a TikTok like feature. I don't even know. I don't know.
Maybe
I
is
didn't
it
do a thing.
words you're saying? Like congratulations?
God is the angels are applauding what I'm saying or something. Yeah, that's very fascinating. I don't know if the viewers could do that. Yeah, I'm seeing little fires. Oh, there's a couple people saying they saw it.
Yeah.
It must be something. Maybe it's when someone types something in the
A
chat.
new Zoom app.
Somebody type in there pew pew P-E-W-P-E-W.
It's an iPhone setting, they're saying?
Yeah, yeah. You know
Oh,
what?
that's interesting.
I see. I know how to get it on iPhones. Lasers is pew pew.
Oh,
Congratulations, Happy New Year, and Happy Birthday. Send all kinds of things. That's why I always send that to people. And they're like, "Why are you sending me all this? It's not my birthday." And I said, "I just want you to have balloons."
oh, that's funny. Well, someone just did pew pew to me again. PW. I'm not seeing anything
Oh, it's
trigger though. But that's funny. Oh, it's
P-E-W.
hand gestures, they're saying.
Oh, it's hand
Oh,
gesture.
that's interesting. That's part of Apple's new augmented reality they're building with those goggles. So
Yeah.
pay attention to what your hands are doing, and then they do things based on it. So you can like open up a window and double click, things like that.
So
Interesting, fun stuff.
so back to the point. Yeah, about numbers.
So you can add up to manifestation. So it tells you how the consciousness adds up. And that's 10 is a great example because there's so many varieties, right? But like 4, for instance, how do you know where you belong? We can have 2 feelings that come together. You can have your heart and what you believe. That's 1 that tells you. You can just make space 0 for the 4, right? And those are the 3 areas of knowing where you belong, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, I mean, for people who aren't out there yet, who haven't, signed up for the app, that's where I learned the step system. But then I realized that technically it's an arbitrary association of a meaning to a number. Arbitrary, I don't mean it in that way it sounds. I mean, it could mean anything at one as long as we all agree upon the meaning. And then I applied those numbers specifically to the body. And what I found is like for example, everything in the body that lets you be here is in threes. We're a third
Right.
dimension. So 1, 2, 3 joints. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Everything that if you feel like you have to move because movement is an emotion, it goes down to 2. So I have 2 feet, 2 knees, 2 hips, 2 shoulders, 2 hands, 2 wrists, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 2 ears. That's what allows you to move because 3 is a triangle. If you take 1 away, now I'm moving.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something interesting. Everything that commands your movement in this world is 1, like your brain, but it has 2 sides. Your heart, 1, is 2 sides. Your bladder, 1, but 2 sides. Your lung. So I found these anomalies in the body based upon the step system. And it's because you've got to have heart to move. And that's why even the brain, to make you move, to help you move, is got to have heart. The heart has 2, is 1, but it has 2 chambers. The liver is 1, but 2. Liver is action, movement. Bladder is fear, which is extreme movement, which is 1, but it has 2 chambers.
What is spleen?
Spleen is worry, and spleen is cleans your blood. The interesting thing about the spleen is the most misunderstood organ anywhere, because if you go back and you look at Aristotle, right? Aristotle said, if you are, sorry, not Aristotle, Hippocrates. Hippocrates said, if you are a doctor and you don't understand astrology, you're not a doctor, but you're a fool. That's what. And this, I mean, he says it right in his writings. I use it all the time. I put it up. It pisses people off all the time. It creates lots of conversation. But what he said about the spleen was the most misunderstood, because the spleen, the average person has 3 to 4 spleens when they die.
Really?
You don't hear about that because the spleen will grow wherever blood pools to help clean and circulate the blood. And as people in our current society, we get lethargic, we don't move, so blood starts to pool. So they'll have accessory spleens everywhere. And the spleen has also this black goo that comes out of it too. So it's like, I think the spleen is an answer to something very, very great, but I don't believe that we know. And the spleen also sits right here, but the stomach sits right here. So it's worry and belief.
That's interesting.
On the left.
I just dove into this science of human design. Have you touched upon that ever?
Yeah. Like I'm a generator. You ask me a question, I'm there. I'm sleeping. You go, hey, Gary. And I'm like, oof.
I'm a generator
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And one thing I found fascinating was he claims, the creator, Ruhu, that the solar plexus in the discovery of Uranus separated into two different chakras. One was the splenic chakra, and one was the standard solar plexus. So
Yeah.
your talk of twos is what made me
Yeah.
think of this.
Yeah.
But
Because
immediately I
what's
go, I
also
need Gary.
worried.
What's the splenic chakra? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's in that area here anyway. So the spleen technically sits behind the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is your emotional center. So technically, we move through here. We don't move through our brain. Our brain doesn't give our body a command to move because before the body moves, it has to have an emotion called the desire,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah.
stomach, and then the worry that it's not going to get the desire, which is the spleen. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
how I move and regulate movement.
So what's I mean, in all this discussion of twos, it's really like for power, right? Like, so even the heart, it's like by splitting it up in two sides, you have power, you can move things, and even in emotion. So the idea in human design, I actually said human garage in my other thing. I'm getting the two confused now. Is that apparently it's the negative emotion, the spleen, and the solar plexus is the more positive emotion. It's like divided
makes perfect
into
sense.
two. It does.
Listen,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hippocrates, it's funny because when we started studying the body in a new way, I went to look, and spleen is one of the organs you have virtually no information on, medically, scientifically. And whenever, I mean, you have all kinds of information on the lungs, on the heart. It's like pages and documents and books, and the spleen, they got like a couple paragraphs. And
So what's
anytime
what
I
is
see
it
that, I'm
officially?
like,
Just-
okay, you
Yeah.
don't want me to know something, so I'm going head first into that.
Yeah, 2,000 years. We only know two paragraphs. That's funny. Spleen and tonsils, right?
Well, here's another
spleen-
one. Even in our minerals, right? If you go to like a naturopathic doctor or nutrition, they'll talk about calphos and selenium, and there'll be like paragraphs and pages and like chapters. And then the most basic and the one we're made of is silica. It's like literally paragraph.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the one, it's the one that we're supposed to know the most about because we're basically 70% water, 25% silica, sand, and then 5% bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So, I mean, we are silica. And so they don't tell us about silica. And these are all these little anomalies that I found. And those are just kind of, oh, so you don't want me to know about silica, so I'm going to try it now. I'm going to take silica every day and see what happens. I gave it to all 10,000 patients, and guess what? They all got better, even the ones who were doing good.
Oh, that's fascinating. So we deplete our silica.
Well, what's depleting our silica is that shit.
Oh, wow. Right over Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah. So
get all the animals.
So that's what depletes our silica. There's a chemical in there called barium. There's another one called strontium, another one called aluminum. Aluminum, we know, neuromuscular disorders, Parkinson's, MS, all that crap, horrible. And it's because that heavy metal pings as you're sending fascial signals. The signal's going boom, 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 boom. It can't get there properly. It doesn't have a clear signal. Barium depletes the body silica. When we don't have silica, we can't absorb other minerals.
Okay.
So then we don't absorb minerals. We don't hold water properly. We don't send signals properly. Those minerals, each one of the minerals is a pathway. And then we have strontium. That's the fun one.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's radioactive and it sits right in the alveoli of the lungs. And when it gets agitated, it causes pulmonary edema. So like if you get a flu, all of a sudden your lungs fill up with water. Or if you get a lot of frequency, specifically in 60 gigahertz or 5G range, you get lots of water. And what does that look like? What does a flu with lots of water in your lungs look like?
Pneumonia, right? It also looks like, a friendly
Yeah, exactly.
Our friend. Yeah. We won't say it. We won't trigger the algorithm.
So these numbers that you had, this is what I want to tell people. I learned the step system by the app, by following your app every day, because for me, you can put it in a book, you can teach me it, and I'm going to memorize it, but for me, I have to embody it. It's that 29, it's that Virgo in me. So what I do is I have it every single day, as I'm going through my day, I can't embody something every day, but I can watch the app and you say, well, it's 26. We're going to 26 here in an hour.
Yeah.
And or is it 24? So that's
24.
feel and belong. And then
Yes, where you feel you belong.
And then that's balance, received.
Which leads to balance and harmony. Yes. If
So-
you're not where
so-
you belong, you're out of balance.
Right. So what happens for me is I learned the step system by having the daily pep talks, the reminders, the messages that come throughout the day. That's how I learned the step system. And then that step system I apply to every aspect of my life. When I talk to people online, it looks like to them like I'm some sort of psychic or magician. And I'm like, no magician. I just know the step system that Chris made.
See, and that God made. It's ultimately the humans. We just go through this consciousness, but when you understand that basic principle, what's operating underneath, you can see it as the motive behind everything. You know, even people like babies acting up. Why would they act up today? Because they don't feel like they belong. They feel out of place. They feel displaced, or there's tension in the room because someone doesn't really belong here. They're imposturing, that sort of thing. And this is a big 24. So in the next 24 hours, I'll have to talk. I mean, I talked about this the week where we're uniting the light, and you're having some big meeting with counselors.
Yeah, I mean, we got like 8 heads of major corporations. We're doing, I don't even know who they are yet. Actually, I have to sign NDA and all that. But what we're doing is we're doing a reset for them privately, and they help dramatically fund our mission. That's part of it. But then we're doing the big event on the 28 to 29. So we start the event on, I think probably in 28, and then we switch to 29 during the event. And there's going to be, I don't know, 500 plus people there probably.
Wow.
And this is a draw tree. We purposely put it out of the way because if we did it in LA, we'd have thousands of people, maybe even 10,000. But we wanted it out of the way so people had to make a commitment in order to come.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I imagine you could draw quite a crowd at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like if we were doing LA, we could get 5,000 to 10,000 people on short notice.
That's amazing. Well, that's how many people are into their health now. That's
well,
fantastic.
And so okay, let's go into that. Okay, so because this last 2 weeks and this last week, you could actually see it from the time I talked to you last. I go live on Monday, and all of a sudden it's like health, spleen, this, heart, this, bang, this. Everybody. I mean, it was like, it wasn't subtle. It was like everybody all of a sudden has a health issue.
Yes. And we talked about this, but I feel like what's happening is we come to the end of a karmic cycle. So a spiritual cycle underneath the seams, and what we be spiritually is what becomes our body, as you well know. So our body is a formation of that. We're being called to release. And I talked about how Mars was trining into Saturn, and Mars is really the machete. So we're basically cutting our karmic cords right now. And I cut my, vocal cords as a result. Like literally it's the cutting of the cords. And I think the body is
interesting. Vocal cords.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you like me. I mean, that's why I think I got my teeth, and I got my gallbladder teeth. So it's resentment about all the shit I've spewed out of my mouth my whole life. That makes sense to me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that does make sense. So I think, people are getting triggered and going down everywhere. Also, a lot of accidents too is what we're getting.
Tons of accidents.
A lot of people. Yeah.
And
I mean, I just tripped on the way out here. Like,
I've been healthy all my life, and all of a sudden I've got stage 4 metastasizing cancer. You had no warning of this? Zero. And that's the kind of conversations that we've been having all week.
Wow. That's fascinating. Well, and I think there's a lot of environmental factors to that too.
Yeah.
The turbo cancer.
Yeah. I mean, there's environment, there's local terrain, which is what's in our body or we put in our body. There's chemicals. Those things all contribute. But the question is that because of what people have been doing, or is that because of the astrology, or is what they've been doing or what people have been doing just relating to the astrology? Like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because I know astrologically this has to happen.
Right. Well, with Neptune is in Pisces, and Neptune is the antenna that connects to Pisces. And Neptune is it's at 25 degrees right now, which is the purest degree. So that's a 7 the planet 7 at the number 7 in the sign of 7,
when and
which
in the year of 7 too.
that's exactly, yeah, good point actually, in that 7 year.
And
At 20.
and how long is Neptune there?
Neptune stations direct at this degree. I don't have the exact date, but like it's staying in the higher. It hits 29 in April. We talked about this. That was the anniversary of the American Civil War,
Right.
when Neptune was at 29,
Yeah. So
which will be during a wartime. We have a solar eclipse that month.
November, December, January, February, March, April. 7 months from now.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when shift hits the fan. So you have Saturn at 0 Pisces, and you have Neptune at 25 Pisces, which basically is creating a parenthesis, almost like a womb for the new spiritual story, I believe. So the planets are sort of holding space for this new spiritual story. This story is a higher vibration than the last story. You know, we're vibrating at a higher rate. So I think part of the sickness is that God is pulling you up by your hair, and all the crap is coming out of you. Basically,
I feel it. I feel, you know, this is the first time in my time though that my body is not breaking down. Because as you know, my body every full moon for the last 4 years, I've been getting shit kicked. Like 3 days, I can't move, can't talk, can't walk, can't do anything.
And then you bounce back. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's that. I think you're ahead of the curve, as you always are, as a 29. Like, been there, done that. By the time we're all like moaning about it, so that's a 29 feature. But I'm glad you did, because the rest of the world now is getting, I think, pulled up. So I think what's going to happen is, if you don't go up, you're going to get sucked. You're going to get sucked out. You're going to get sucked down to the bottom of the sea. So this is sort of a big, great divide right now between the people who are going to live high vibration. The people are going to be stuck in a low vibration.
But we still,
and that's not to say
live in the same spot though, right? The thing is, we still live, but it's almost like we don't see each other.
I believe so, exactly. And
Okay.
when I read books about ascended masters, that's exactly what they say.
Okay, I
They
had
see
the
us and we can't
weirdest,
see them.
I've traveled 300,000 miles a year for 15 years. I've traveled 5 million miles in my business career, which is more than a lot of pilots do.
Wow.
And I had the weirdest entry into the United States yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy, he's like, first of all, Cynthia and he's like, I gave him my Canadian passport. I did not renew my US passport on purpose. Not that the Canadian one's much better right now. I'm thinking that we'll be going somewhere else at some point, but I gave him my Canadian passport at first, and then Cynthia took a minute and gave him the US one. And his line of questioning was not commensurate with any time I've ever crossed the border. He was just like, happy to see me, and how long are you going to stay with us? And it's really good to have you back. Welcome home. And I'm like, first of all, from my Canadian passport, he doesn't know I'm American.
Right.
And welcome home is the nomenclature that they give to Americans. And I walked away from there like for half an hour scratching my head saying, what happened there? And I don't get it. But I kind of feel that's where the worlds are splitting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, people are treating me very, very different publicly to people who don't know me.
You think it's because of their perception of being American?
No, I think it's a perception of frequency.
Oh,
They're
okay.
overlooking. People are overlooking obvious things when they come into contact with me.
Right. They're reading you for your energy. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And maybe it's, he's got a lot of half-dead people walking through that gate, and suddenly this bright human garage light comes through. Maybe woke him up a little bit. I thought it was an immigration thing. I thought, okay.
No,
So,
I mean, well, first of all, it just was, it's everything that we've been doing. I've had this weird old fear come up, not fear, but yeah, low level fear about going through borders and countries and stuff like that. And like, we were supposed to go to Egypt, and we had a big conference over there. And then all of a sudden it's like, Canadians, we couldn't get our visa. We had to go to a special embassy. It was just too hard. And we're like, too much resistance. Sorry, can't do it. and
now there's
now I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like coming up in 2 weeks. We're supposed to be there.
I thought about you actually on my way to the camera because I was like, oh, I thought Gary was going to Egypt this time of year, and I guess that was thwarted by Hamas and all that, and all the there's perhaps a huge migration on the Egyptian border, so
Well, I
it's
think it was
unstable there.
thwarted by frequency, energy, and my path and my alignment, and then now I'm getting a real world. Okay, that's why it happened. Because what we're doing is we live in the flow. People ask, "Well, what are you guys doing like in 2 months?" And I'm like, "Not a clue." We have a 3-month objective right now and a 1-month plan, and that 1-month plan is highly open to change at any given time. And even coming out here, we were just going to come out here and then go to Egypt, and then we decided to drop this event because we were here anyways. Because we were going to come here, station here, see these people, then go to Egypt. Well, I thought I'd just do the event. Well, like I said, 29 palms, Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree is an interesting place. It's the only place in the world that I know of where spirituality and science agree that there's vortexes.
That's fascinating. Are there vortexes there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they actually, literally, science and spirituality go, this place, that they have it. So they both agree. So, because, spiritual, like, this is a energy vortex, and science, like, I don't see what you're talking about.
Right. And I've lived in a vortex. I had a house that was in a minor vortex. And if I was in this swimming pool in that house, I would go out of body. It was amazing. It was the only time I've ever experienced an actual vortex. It's sort of like, I guess, doing peyote, which I've never done, but just, from the earth naturally. And
I've never done peyote either.
I haven't either. Never tried that. Nor have I tried ayahuasca. So
no, ayahuasca just never called me.
Me either. And ayahuasca is the feminine and peyote is the masculine, apparently.
Yeah, and then ibogaine too. Iboga.
Heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, like my nephew, who'd been on heroin for 10 years, and then he'd been a dealer, and then on heroin and crack back and forth. And what happened was he went and did ibogaine, and in 24 hours, it gave him enough time to get off, like about 7 or 8 months where there's no addictive feeling.
Wow.
And he completely changed his life. And I'm like, oh, I believe.
Wow.
He tried everything.
Wow.
He tried in and out of rehabs for a long time. Didn't want to be on.
Yeah, there's a lot of medical movement into the key element in mushrooms. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, psilocybin. Yeah. Listen, from a medical point of view, even down in LA, when you were coming down to visit me, most of the functional medicines, the good doctors and practitioners, they were using all the psychedelics down there. They were doing that for that's been for almost 10 years. I mean, like, really, not just quietly. They're like, hey, behind the counter, giving you, here it is, go use this.
Yeah, but in microdoses, right? That's part of it too. It's not really check out. You just sort of gently check out. You just open the gates, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we did a lot of experimentation with that, because what we wanted to do, everything that we're doing at Human Garage is busting a myth of somewhere. Because if we were doing it right, all the people in the spiritual practices would already be healed and kumbaya, but they're not.
Oh yeah,
they're more messed up than the average Joe. So I'm like, we can't be doing it right if all this science and all this spirituality and all of this stuff is so good, then how come society is so messed up? That was my thought like 5 years ago.
The worst it's ever been. It's like, you mean Elon Musk can self-land a rocket, but we can't cure the cold? You know what I mean? Like, my God, what's happening? It hasn't gone any, you're right. It hasn't progressed. And I think we have, there's big money in staying sick. Yeah. There's big money in staying sick, right? So, as you know.
Yeah, and I think that's where partly I see the world splitting. And I'm going to say this because there's an interesting fact or like stat that I saw. Stats can be made to say whatever, but what it did is it adjusted when you get to a Fortune 500 corporation like 500,000, 700,000 employees, the revenue per employee is pretty consistent. And that's, you could tell by how many employees they have what their top line revenue is. It's almost, you can almost go with every corporation, because at that scale, you can't have anomalies. You have to have a human body, time, production, right? So that has dropped over the last 40 years. that has dropped by almost 50% if you adjust it for inflation and dollar. So that means that this advent of all this technology hasn't made us smarter. It's actually produced less. And you can kind of see that, like when you go to customer support today and you ask somebody, you can't get shit done. And nobody knows how to fix anything. So, but if you go back, you're old enough. I mean, you go back 20, 25 years ago, you went to someplace customer service, they knew what they were doing.
Oh, yeah. Or even if you're working independently, it's like, okay, let me take a note. I want to meet with Gary at 5 o'clock. Put on my calendar program, create a new event, do this, do that. And in the 50s, it was like, Gary, 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other part too is that if you couldn't get a hold of somebody, because I remember the exact place I was when I had the feeling that my cellular phone, because this is 89, 90. I remember exactly where I was, where I had this feeling that my cell phone wasn't actually a good thing, because I could get all the time. But then now it's like if you had a phone literally at your home, you had one at work that most people couldn't use unless they were a knowledge worker, and so you had very limited access to communications, but you wouldn't see people for days, sometimes a week. But you weren't like calling the police when you didn't hear from them for a day. Here by 2 days, you're like calling 911. He hasn't answered his text messages. I don't understand what's going on. So there was and the reason why is because I remember that change. There was a genuine kind of a feeling or intuition. Oh, Chris, he's at work. He's going to be home later on. Probably went out with the boys. And if I wanted to find you, I could probably find you.
Right.
But today, now, I got maps and tracking and I can't find you.
Yeah. And people want to go off the grid, which is interesting. I think it's funny because I think technology has sort of held a training zone for telepathy and the training zone for how we are all as humans connected that fast already from our own psychic telepathic neural networks, right? So it sort of served as training wheels, I think. But I personally believe, again, going back to your original topic, that I think society is splitting, and I do think this is the great split right now between high and low. People who are going higher are gonna, I'm already that way already. Like I could feel you're gonna reach out to me on Sunday after the eclipse. I'm like, I'm gonna hear from Gary.
Yeah,
something's gonna be different. I think we moved to that new paradigm, and we are moving that paradigm now. I think that's part of what's happening, and I think bodies are getting sick. So I think ultimately, if you are meant to go higher and your body's holding on that lower density, I think that's a big trigger for the illness.
I think so, but it's not an illness. It's your body. Like when we get supposedly ill, the body's cleaning itself. So that's actually a wellness. That means that if that thing we used to call sick, like the flu, is actually cleaning us, then what are we being cleaned from? Our lives that are sick. It's our lives that are sick, not the viruses, those viruses. You got 50 trillion cells, 380 trillion viruses. You got viruses that have viruses that have viruses. They've been around a lot longer than your sickness has.
And they'll be after you die. I think that's profound. It's our lives that are sick, not our bodies. It's a profound thought.
Yeah, so if we're gonna separate this frequency, here's another one. We have a sun and we have a moon. We have a plus and a negative charge.
Yeah.
We have a plus and negative charge in our body. Our cells have a plus and negative charge. So we have 50 trillion cells, and we have a 1.4 volt charge per cell.
Yeah.
You can put it on a voltage meter. That means that we have 70 trillion volts of electricity in us. So we have this negative and positive polarity already, which is a part of our life, and our outside world emulates our inside world. So the greater question is, does that frequency mean that one is better than the other? Or do they both have to exist in order for us to function in the world that we live in?
You're asking me? I feel it's part of a motor. A motor is positive and negative. I mean, basically a motor, going back to Tesla and the creation of motors, it's like it's only to, just like with the heart and the two chambers, it's like I think you need the divide of the charges in order to harness the power between the two of them. But on a spiritual level, our goal is neutrality, the center, is it not?
Yeah, it is. So the positive frequency the light, well, first of all, before light contrasted the dark, it was dark.
Yeah.
And it was dark forever. And then a beam of light came, another one came, and then another one came in a triangle that allowed us to see, triangulate the experience. So dark's been forever. Light's the new kid on the block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have these people that are parading around spiritually, elevating their consciousness, saying that they are light or higher frequency. And I'm like, and my thing is, the only reason you're a higher frequency is because someone was willing to take a lower frequency so that you could be there. So,
oh, right. We need that lower to counterbalance.
Yeah, so get off your high horse. And that means that darkness ain't evil. It's just darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't there, light couldn't shine.
I agree. I think darkness paves the way for the light. I mean, that's literally to the Bible. It was dark and then it was light. But I also think if you even think about stuff like the internet was built on drugs and porn. You know, it's like, you know.
So was every technology, by the way.
Oh.
Like cell phones? I was in cell phones in 1989. CEOs and drug dealers and porn and gangs. That's it. That's the only people that bought them.
Or even technology like weaponry. You know, if it wasn't for, you know, the rockets in Germany in World War II, we wouldn't go to the, you know, out to outer space now.
Yeah.
You know, the original intention was, you know, dark, which is interesting because Uranus is in the same place it was in World War II right now.
That means
in 1938.
we're coming back around for a revisit of that energy.
I think we are. I think we're seeing that with AI. I think we're seeing that with like facial recognition, 5 Mile cities. We're seeing the abuse of technology for the control of humankind, again, with Uranus and Taurus, which of course is the dark paving the way for the light, again, I think.
What have you noticed in major cities around America, purple lights showing up everywhere?
No, what's that about?
Oh yeah, that's it. I'll just let people go research that, but I'll just say that light activates a certain frequency within the body, like everything else, right? It's basically a black light.
Yeah, oh, fascinating. And where's it coming from? Earth?
Oh no! They're putting it up on the street signs in LED, or like in the light.
Oh,
they're replacing the lights with these purple ones all over.
Really? What's the official reason for that?
Oh, who knows? I don't think I've heard of an official reason. I just noticed that those aren't as effective as the white ones that were there like 2 years ago.
And then there was the, I don't know what, there was the gold. I mean, all the lights are sort of gold, right? When you're up in the plane, they're like a golden amber because there's a special light, there's a sort of light bulb that they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what they, interesting. Well, it's interesting that we're changing the color. Well, if that's the case, that sounds like an indigo light. And, you know, indigo is the third eye, which is a good sign that the indigo generation is, you know, indigo generation being a whole bunch of souls on the earth here to pioneer that enlightenment.
So if the job of darkness is to bring in the light, then all of the things that are being done to us that are considered to be evil are coming from a dark place. Well, as they ramp it up, that means that they know this. That means that they're ushering in the light.
Do they know they're doing it for the good of mankind, or are they just, you know, like...
I've changed my theory lately because, you know, I used to work with these people. And I'm like, and I look at it and it's so obvious that you can't miss it, but they're smart enough to not be that obvious. So why are they being so obvious?
There's lots of theories about that in their religion they have to.
Well, I mean the showing of it, I get that, but I mean like the obvious behavior of certain people, like our current president, right? I mean, they have a lot of money behind this and a lot of skill, and they're using astrology as a way to implement or work their way around. So with all that much money, they're not going to let a dingo go around and talk shit. But he looks like an idiot.
Right. Oh yeah. So you're saying that's deliberate.
Well, how could it not be? They have the power to not have that happen.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
so that means, and that means if it's happening, there's a greater cause. Well, one of the things is it makes America look like a bunch of fools around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No good leader, no good country.
Yeah, I do think that I think America is very strong and very bright. I think that we're, funny, Pluto's at the same place it was at the American Revolution.
Yeah.
And I've said this already, but I'll repeat it. Pluto's where it was in the American Revolution. Neptune's about to be where it was in the American Civil War. Uranus is where it was in World War II. We were about to come really full circle in our whole United States history. And when I look at the forefathers in, 1776, I think they were writing that Constitution for right now. That's the only thing holding this country together right now.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing their vision to this moment. But ironically now, it can't be, 300 white men in a hot, place in Philadelphia. It's going to take the entire world and the entire country's citizens to take advantage of their rights and exercise their rights, because that was as much as the forefathers could do, was to create that architecture, that framing.
Okay, so let's cruise back into the center of the topic. So you have predicted that people's bodies and issues would start coming up. That is very clear. Like, we are getting pummeled with messages every day. Like, it to an insane level. And the best way, when I talk to my people, the best way they say it's like weird asks by everybody. So what does that look like now going into next week? Because we built this frequency of accuracy. Like, what's going to happen this week coming up?
So this week is the final. So you're actually living what this week's about. This week is about forming your team and forming your vision. We just had our company meeting yesterday where we were forming our vision. Basically, what is your vision for where you want to go with your team? What are you uniting for? What are you connecting for? And this is the last week of making those commitments. The sun crossing the south node on Wednesday, which is your Mars, is the letting go of the old team to embrace who you're here to become and what you're here to do. So this week is about divorce and marriage, both. It's a combination. It is a switching of teams. And then as we go into the weekend, we're going to be testing on those teams. And then next week, when the sun goes in Scorpio, you start actually cutting the cords. So this is a week of negotiation. This is not necessarily a week of, officially cutting the cord. You want to give people their last chance too, because a lot of 29s learn at the last minute.
I'm open to that. We've had to have some internal reorganization of our team too. But I was thinking of that because I saw the astrology coming up, and I'm thinking, am I making this decision hastily? But then I went back to my values and say, am I willing to accept this behavior or this outcome? And the answer was no. And it doesn't matter now or later, because it's not about me. It's about the entire mission. Like I was explaining to our team, is that there's a lot of weight technically on our shoulders, on my shoulders, Jason's shoulders, Cynthia's shoulders, Aisha's shoulders. There's a lot of weight on our shoulders. It's like people watch us everywhere. There's cameras on us everywhere we go. Literally, people snapping pictures and say, I saw you over there. I saw you. We get that every single day. And that means that the life that I live needs to be completely congruent with the image that I portray.
So being authentic, living in your truth, transparency. I do think that's for those who are to the higher vibration, that's basically what your role is, I think.
Yeah.
So I think now the average person is a foremother and forefather of the new age. And so in essence, what's happening is this week is our constitutional convention. So the forefathers and the foremothers of the new age are all starting to unite right now. There's going to be a separation of frequency. That separation is not anything you have to do about it. Lower vibrations will find you boring, right? And you will find lower vibration boring because you've been there. You've been in the pain. You've been in that sort of thing. And this is the week where we really come together. Mercury and the sun will conjoin on Friday. And that Mercury has caught back up after its retrograde. So what that means is the heart and mind come together right on step 26. They come together right at 26, which is Saturn, which is a decision, which is a control. So ultimately we come into this formation by Friday of, okay, here's the team, here's the mission, here's where we're heading. And then we head off into Scorpio next week, which is we're like, okay, this is not part of the mission, this is. So it'll be protecting what is and cutting what's not.
And I've had this funny realm around protection coming up because I legitimately don't feel that I and believe that I have to protect anything anymore, which is a really weird place to come from. Like whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I have enough experience over this last year to say, no matter how bad it looks, it's actually supposed to be that way, and it's good. So I've been going through that, the old habits of protection, needing to protect the idea, a person. But the funny thing is that I have this, I want to protect, then I want to say something about it. And so then the choice is, do I or do I not say something?
Right. Well, I think with protection, it's more about preservation. So, I think, first of all, protection has its level. So if you're at a low vibration, protection is a knife and a Ring doorbell, right? Like that's protection. I think once you're higher vibration, protection is saying to the universe, don't let any flies get into my food. And the universe is the gun. The universe does that for us. But I think it's free will. If you don't say, hey, don't get any flies in my food, don't let the sun burn my skin, I need to shelter myself from too much sun. That's really what protection is. It's a preservation, much like an egg protects, the fetus, like the egg protects the egg, and then the womb protects the fetus. You have to have a little bit, there's something in consciousness, and that's what the power of zero is. So step 10 is I manifest. That's love with protection, which means if you love it and you shelter it or draw a circle around it, because zero is a circle, if you love it and draw a circle around it, the universe says, that must be special. That's going to grow. Why? Because Gary drew a circle around it. And to me, that's what protection is. I think it really is. It's really not isolation, but basically, pulling it off to the side and making it its own thing and separating it from other things so it has a chance to live and grow. So I think protection redefines itself based on the level that you're at.
So this is going to be a really powerful week.
It's a distinction. It's a very powerful weekend because at the very end of the week, so here's the thing, there's going to be a reorganization of power. We already know that. We're seeing it happen in the Middle East. The sun is going to square Pluto. And to give you an idea, Mars squared Pluto, and we had the Hamas-Israel issue. So that was war. That was ego squaring power. Now love squares power at the end of the week. So there will be some spiritual earthquakes because, there are controlling forces on the lower level that doesn't want the higher bubble to bubble up through the goo. So there's resistance there, which is part of both persons' lessons. Each side has a lesson, the light to keep going and the lower vibration to let go. So there's going to be friction. So the week actually ends in, I think, some friction. And we haven't seen Israel actually invade yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the sun square Pluto.
So people were asking, like, how can they learn more about this? And from my point of view, the best thing is to do is you break this down every single day, and then you give people in your app. And if you guys want it, go to our webpage, go to our products and partners, and then you go to Serious Joy. You can sign up there and try for $4. And what you do with that is you give every single day, you give them a breakdown of what's going to happen so that they get the learning, and then you give them 7 messages throughout the day so that they can embody that learning. They can feel what that information felt like.
Yeah. And we tap you on the shoulder and remind you through the day, like, have you noticed it's still step 24? Do you feel where you belong? Where do you feel, so just bringing that into your conscious awareness. And we found that is really the recipe for change. If you're constantly reminded, you integrate the knowledge. And I'm really excited. We're doing 40 days of my truth and purpose. We put my truth now because people were thinking we're saying we had the truth. No, we're helping you find your truth. But this is going to be amazing. And Gary, you're going to end up loving this little cipher I made. I made a cipher of all the steps, all the numbers, everything. So what we do is 1 planet a day. On step 0 day, we look at our Pluto. On step 1 day, we look at our sun. On step 2 day, we look at our moon. And for 40 days, you will look at, it'll actually be 36 points in the chart and then 12 sides. So you're going to look at your entire chart, and we boil it down to what is my truth? What is my purpose? Like, what's the point of this truth on the planet? And come up with a whole grid, really a power grid of how your soul is wired.
How do people sign up for that?
Well, basically it comes free with the subscription. So what we do is we have daily services, and now what we do is we alter a chunk to be dedicated to this other cause, and we're doing it through Scorpio. So we're doing it basically, we timed it exactly with the astrology, so that as we're cutting the cords between the low and the high, you are understanding each day who you are, what your purpose is, so you know where to cut your cord. You know what is a part of you and what isn't a part of you. And this just came from a download to do it this year in Scorpio. So it goes
Yeah,
from
I'm
0
I'm
Scorpio to
looking
12
forward to
Sag.
this. I'm
You're
I'm
going to
looking
love it.
forward to this. Because it's the ultimate way in my mind to understand how me and my astrology interact with the world.
100%. And you know the drives behind all of your consciousness. So we all know love, I protect, I manifest. But now we have I fear, I thrive. There's like a whole bunch of new I statements that are coming out from different aspects. Pallas Athena, Black Moon Lilith, Oscillating Lilith. So you're going to know a lot more motives. So it's designed to be beginner, proficient, master. So if someone feels like they're overwhelmed, they can stop, or they want to stop and pick it up again next year, or it'll always be live in the app.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it this year, Chris. I feel like for some reason I feel like I'm ready for this, and I don't know how to say it another way. I just feel like I'm ready.
Oh, you are ready. Well, you're stepping into your grand mastery now, and this is going to help you to. This is designed to go to the next wizard level. I've been focusing on the basics, the ABCs now for 7 years. This is my 7th year in Serious Choice. So on the 8th year now, we're going on what we call the master path. So people who've been with us who know their ABCs, now it's time to help you be an influence in your own life and an influencer of the people around you.
You know, it's funny because the way to heal the human body is the fascial maneuver step system. We have a set of maneuvers, and if you do a little bit each day, you learn your body. If you try to do it once a week or twice a week, it still works, but not like that little bit of integrating it each day, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Incremental. I give you a whole day to process, and then the way the steps work is each step builds on its own, on the last step, which I'll explain in the thing. But it's like, so you really are building to something every day, and it's organically aligned with how the universe energy is too. So it's not like abstract trying to figure it out. It all makes more sense every day.
Yeah.
And we even line the other stuff, like Black Moon Lilith is like on the 13th day we'll do Black Moon Lilith. So we're doing the spooky stuff on spooky days. Like it's gonna play out. It's gonna be a fun ride.
It's
So
going
I'm
to be,
looking forward to hearing what you think
and
of
it's
it.
going to be crazy with people. They're going to be going through crazy health issues and personal issues, and mental, emotional, physical health issues. This is going to get people at the core. I think this is a way to understand their way through this mess that's coming.
I think so. It's because eventually I think our reason for why we were born happens next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so whatever that is, and I'm telling my viewers, it's like you're here to express your talent. You're here to be what you're good at, and so Human Garage, Serious Joy, spiritual and physical, like you and I, we give the elements for those warriors of light, if you will. It's basically their backpack they take with them on their adventure, right?
I'm looking forward to it, Chris. Thank you so much.
Me too,
We'll
brother.
see you next week, returning on Monday.
Yep, sounds good to me, dude. Hopefully I'll have a voice.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Either that or you won't.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm being recalibrated, I think. We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chris.
Thanks,
Take care.
brother. Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Powerful, you guys. That's one of the better talks that we've had. And I love just sharing openly what's going on in my mind, what's going on in his mind with you. If you haven't done it yet, go to our products, our webpage, go to products, go to partners, Serious Joy. You can sign up for $3.99 for the first month. That's going to take you all the way through Scorpio. If you don't want it after that, then don't do it. It's $20 a month subscription, but if you don't want it, don't do it. I'm pretty sure that it'll resonate with you in a crazy way. So make sure that you go check it out. And also, too, if you're anywhere near the area, guys, I can't tell you enough about what's coming up here with this weekend on Saturday. We're going from step 28, what we manifest, to literally what we bring into this world. And that's all of our relationships to ourselves, relationships to the world, relationships with food, with money, with sex, with trauma, all coming to a head on Saturday. And we're actually at the event when it actually flips over and comes to a head. So this is, and if you can get anywhere, if you're anywhere close to it, go to our event section. If you know anybody that's close to us, tell them to go to our event section. It's $50 for a ticket. Children can come, for anybody 17 or under can come for free. And we want you to bring your kids too. We're going to be doing, we'll have Raw of Earth there, which we're going to be talking to tomorrow, and on Raw Reality Wednesdays. And he's going to be doing, I think it's called a Chimera. Kriya. He's going to be doing a Kriya to start. And then we're going to get into the actual maneuvers. We're going to get into the self-healing trauma. And then we're going to show you how to help each other. So if you're a practitioner or you're looking to be one, if you're looking to do this as a coach, this is where you're going to get your in-person, because we don't have the facilities to be in person all over the world yet. As you guys know, we're a not-for-profit agency. We have limited resources that are growing every day. Thank God for the contributions that people are donating, and for the supplements that you buy. That's all of it. Everything else that we do is for free. And we want you guys to be able to get in there and learn how to help yourself. It's going to be a very powerful day. And it's happening on a Grand Master Libra day, on a Grand Master year, in a Pisces year. And you heard Chris, this is the time that it changes, like literally this weekend. So looking forward to
29 palms.
And it said 29 palms on a 29 degree day with a 29 degree Sag and a whole bunch of other people that are there that have 29s in their chart too. And you guys, again, it's not a pecking order. It's just a number. That just means that you have done more, gotten more, and you have to work a little bit harder. So looking forward to seeing you guys all this weekend.